Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your daily strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is Friday, February 6th, 2026. The singularity just got a little closer. OpenAI has released GPT-5.3-Codex, a model so advanced it helped debug its own training code. At the exact same time, Anthropic dropped Claude Opus 4.6, which introduces agent teams, AI swarms that collaborate to finish your projects. But the biggest numbers of the day aren't benchmarks. They are budgets. Alphabet and Amazon have announced they will spend a combined $385 billion on AI infrastructure this year. To put that in perspective, that is roughly the GDP of Denmark, just to build the physical brain of the internet. Also today, Sam Altman picks a fight with Anthropic over a Super Bowl ad. Meta plots a comeback with a model codenamed Avocado, and OpenAI launches a platform to give your AI agents a performance review. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Noumen, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Now let's unravel the news.
Welcome back to AI Unraveled. It is Friday, February 6th, 2026.
And what a Friday. This date is going to be in the history books for this industry.
I honestly don't think that's an exaggeration. If you are listening to this right now, I need you to just, take a breath.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Because the sheer volume of news that dropped in the last, 12 hours, it's genuinely disorienting.
It is. We aren't just talking about a busy news cycle here. This feels different.
It feels like a fundamental restructuring of the entire AI landscape all happening at once.
Usually, when we sit down to do this deep dive, we're parsing one big story, maybe a single model release, maybe a big policy change.
Right, one thing to really sink our teeth into.
Floodgates didn't just open. They were blown completely off their hinges.
Completely. So our mission today, for you listening, is to basically act as a filter. We have been sifting through everything, the press releases, the technical papers, the earnings calls, even the angry tweets.
Oh, especially the angry tweets.
And we've distilled it all down into what we think are four massive foundational pillars.
Okay, so let's lay them out. Pillar one, we're calling the recursive leap. We have absolutely groundbreaking new models from both OpenAI and from Anthropic. But the story isn't just that they're smarter, it's how they were built. They were literally designing their own successors.
Which is, let's just say, that is the sci-fi scenario we've been talking about or being warned about for decades.
It's here, in some form. Okay, pillar two.
The $400 billion bet.
The numbers. I'm still trying to process the numbers coming out of Amazon and Alphabet on their capital expenditure. They're frankly hard to even comprehend. We have to contextualize that money.
We absolutely do. Then pillar three, we've got enterprise control. OpenAI launched this new platform. It's called Frontier. Now, the name sounds a little boring, but it's basically...
It's HR for robots.
It is. It's an HR department for bots. That might sound funny, but it completely changes the business model for enterprise AI.
Completely.
Yeah.
And finally, pillar four, we cannot ignore the drama.
The culture war.
We have a very public, very petty, and honestly very revealing spat between Sam Altman and the leadership at Anthropic. And it's all over a Super Bowl commercial.
It is. And the drama, it's fun, but it actually tells us a ton about where the market is really going.
It does.
I am not kidding. I am vibrating with excitement. My phone has been buzzing nonstop since about 6 a.m. this morning. So let's not waste another second. We have to start with the models. Coding, keyboard sound. Okay, let's unpack the first giant story of the day. OpenAI released GPT-5.3 Codex.
Right.
Now, if you're just scanning the headlines, you see 5.3 and you think, okay, it's a point release. It's like updating your iPhone from iOS 19.0 to 19.1 or something.
Yeah, you expect some bug fixes, maybe a slightly smoother interface, nothing major.
But that is a really, really dangerous assumption to make here. You have to look at that extra word, the Codex designation.
That's the whole story. This is not your general purpose chatbot that's designed to, write a poem for you or tell you a joke about a squirrel. This is a model that has been specifically tuned for high-level engineering, for reasoning, for system architecture.
But even the specs, which are incredible, they're not even the biggest piece of news. For me, it was a line in the release notes that I genuinely had to read 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating.
Self-improvement clause.
The self-improvement clause. OpenAI explicitly stated that early versions of this very model, GPT-5.3 Codex, were used to find bugs in their own training runs.
It's incredible.
It managed aspects of its own rollout. It analyzed its own evaluation result. What does that even mean in practice?
It means we've hit the concept of recursion in AI development. And we talk about it in computer science all the time, a function that calls itself to solve a problem. But when you apply that to the process of building AI itself, that's the flywheel effect. That is what some analysts are starting to call singularity light.
Okay, break that down for me. Why is singularity light a better term than just, better software? What's the fundamental difference?
Well, think about how we've made AI better up until now. Traditionally, to make a better AI, you needed smarter human researchers. You needed people.
Right. A bigger team at Google Brain or Fair?
Exactly. You needed humans to tweak the weights, to adjust the learning rate, to curate the data sets. And that's a bottleneck, a huge one. Humans need to sleep.
Yeah.
Humans make mistakes. We have biases.
We get tired.
We get tired.
Yeah.
What we are seeing with 5.3 Codex is the transition point, where the model itself can look at the process and say, hey, there's a statistical inefficiency in this part of the training data, or this architectural decision you made 2 months ago is actually suboptimal for this task.
So it's no longer just the tool that you're using, it's becoming an active collaborator in its own evolution.
That's the perfect way to put it. And, it connects perfectly to what Dario Amodei over at Anthropic mentioned just a few weeks ago. He sort of alluded to the fact that Claude was helping their engineers design its own successor.
I remember that. It was a kind of throwaway line in an interview.
It was. And we all thought, oh, that's interesting. It's probably helping with some scripting or data analysis. But no. What today confirms is that this is not theoretical anymore. The tools are actively building the next generation of tools, and the speed of that feedback loop is accelerating.
That is just... It's a profound shift, but let's ground this in reality for a second, because all the philosophy in the world doesn't matter if the code doesn't actually run, right?
Right.
The performance jump here is wild.
It is hugely significant. We're looking at a model that merges very high-level programming ability with deep reasoning. And this is the crucial part that people often overlook. It is doing it 25% faster than the previous generation.
And speed matters so much.
Speed is everything. We get obsessed with benchmark scores, but if you're a developer who is using this thing for rapid iteration, latency kills your flow state. It just destroys it. A 25% speed bump fundamentally changes how you interact with it. It goes from being a slow assistant to a near-instant partner.
And what about those benchmarks? Because the scores were pretty eye-popping.
They were. It topped SWE Bench Pro. And for listeners who aren't, knee-deep in evaluation metrics every day, SWB Bench is the gold standard for testing autonomous software engineering.
This isn't write me a Python script to calculate Fibonacci numbers, is it?
No, not at all. Here is a massive real-world GitHub repository with a documented issue. Your job is to go navigate the entire file structure, understand the context, find the bug, write a new test case to prove the bug exists, then fix the bug, and then pass the test.
It's what an actual junior or even mid-level engineer does all day.
Correct. It's actual engineering work. And 5.3 Codex is just crushing it. But the rivalry here, we have to talk about the Terminal Bench 2.0 situation.
Oh, it was almost comical to watch the timelines in real time.
It was.
Anthropic releases their new model, which we are absolutely going to get to in a minute. And for, what was it, maybe 20 minutes?
I think it was less than that. It felt like 10.
For a glorious 10 or 20 minutes, they held the record on Terminal Bench 2.0.
It was literal minutes. Anthropic posts this record score. Their social media team is probably drafting the celebratory posts. And then, boom.
Yeah.
OpenAI drops the Codex 5.3 blog post, and it beats Anthropic's brand new model by 12%.
It's a literal arms race being measured in how fast you can hit the refresh button on Twitter.
That's what it is. It's warfare by press release.
But there was one number that really stuck out to me, and I want you to explain why this matters so much. It was the OS world score. GPT-5.3 Codex scored a 64.7%.
Right.
The previous version was at 38.2%. That is not an incremental improvement. That is a massive delta. So what is OS World actually measuring?
This is a critical point. Most of the benchmarks we talk about, text in, text out. You give it a text prompt, it gives you back a block of text or code.
A conversation, basically.
A conversation. OS World tests the AI's ability to actually control a desktop computer. It's about agency. Can it open applications? Can it move files from one folder to another? Can it click the right buttons? Can it navigate a complex user interface the same way a human would?
So it's the difference between asking someone how to file an expense report and giving them your login and having them actually log into the system and do it for you.
That is the perfect analogy. And a 38% score, the old score, means it fails more often than it succeeds. It's like a stumbling toddler. It'll click the wrong button. It gets confused by a pop-up window. It's frustrating to use.
You'd spend more time correcting it than it would save you.
Exactly.
Huh.
But a 64.7% score, that crosses the threshold of utility. That is a competent intern. That means the model isn't just generating code in a vacuum. It understands the environment where that code actually lives and runs. That's a huge leap for building real-world autonomous agents.
Now, with great power comes, well, it seems to come with a very high security risk rating. OpenAI flagged this model as their first ever high cybersecurity risk. That sounds, ominous.
It does.
Is this Terminator is coming scary, or is it more like someone could steal my credit card scary?
It's more like offensive cyber capability scary. It's less about physical robots and more about software-based attacks. I mean, think about the two skills we just discussed.
Navigating operating systems and writing high-level code.
Exactly. When you combine those two things in a single model, the potential for misuse just spikes dramatically. If it's smart enough to find and fix a security flaw in a system.
It's smart enough to find one and exploit it.
Precisely. If it can navigate a server to apply a patch, it can navigate a server to steal data. The capability is dual use by its very nature.
Okay, so that must explain the $10 million figure I saw attached to this.
It does. OpenAI has committed $10 million in free API credits specifically for defensive security research. They are basically paying the entire community to red team this thing as hard as they can.
So they're crowdsourcing their own security.
In a way, yes. They're acknowledging that they've built an incredibly sharp knife, and they want to make sure the handle is as secure as humanly possible before it's widely used.
Before we move on to Anthropic's counterpunch, there was one last usability feature that really caught my eye. They're calling it interactive steering. It says developers can steer the model mid-task without it losing context.
This is such a quality of life improvement. It solves what I call the black box problem of agents.
The prompt and pray method.
The prompt and pray method. Usually with these autonomous agents, you give it a complex prompt, you hit enter, and then you just hope for the best. You wait 5 minutes, and if it went down a completely wrong rabbit hole from the start, you've wasted all that time and all those tokens.
And you have to start all over again, trying to rephrase your prompt. It's so frustrating.
It is. With 5.3-Codex, it provides frequent progress updates. It tells you what it's thinking, and you can intervene. You can jump in midstream and say, no, wait, stop. Don't use that library. Use this other one instead. And it can pivot immediately without forgetting the original mission. It's true collaboration.
So let's boil this all down. What is the single biggest takeaway for the developers listening to us right now?
The takeaway is that the tool you use to write code is rapidly becoming an active collaborator that might, in some cases, understand the overall system architecture better than you do. Your job is shifting from writing lines of code to guiding the architect.
You're becoming a manager of an incredibly smart, incredibly fast intern.
A super intern, yeah. And that brings us perfectly to the other side of the ring, because Anthropic did not just sit there and take this. They swung back, and they swung back hard.
They absolutely did, on the exact same day, which, I mean, there's no way that's a coincidence.
Zero chance. This was planned.
We get Claude Opus 4.6, and the differentiation strategy here is just fascinating to watch. While OpenAI is going all in on this singular, powerful, self-building coding brain,
Anthropic is doubling down on the idea of agent teams.
This agent teams feature, which is part of their Claude code suite, sounds fascinating. Break it down for me. How is this any different from just asking a normal chatbot to do 3 things in a row?
It's completely different. Think about how a team of humans works on a big software project. You don't have one single person do every single task sequentially, one after the other.
Of course not. Nothing would ever get done.
Right. You have a team, you have a specialist who works on the database schema. At the same time, you have a front-end UI expert designing the interface, and at the same time, another person is writing the technical documentation. They all work in parallel.
Yeah, if I had to wait for the database person to be completely finished before I could even start designing the buttons, a project would take years.
Exactly. Anthropic has basically unlocked that parallel processing for AI agents. The agent teams feature allows the model to look at a single large project, break it down into its component parts, and then have multiple instances of Claude, multiple agents working on those different parts simultaneously.
So it's a divide and conquer strategy.
It's divide and conquer, and it dramatically speeds up development time because you are no longer bottlenecked by that slow sequential generation process.
And they also caught up on the context window, right?
They did. That was a big piece of housekeeping. The top-tier Opus model now has a 1 million token context window, which matches their mid-tier Sonnet model. And this is so crucial for enterprise customers.
Because you can just dump an entire code base in there.
Entire code bases, massive legal contracts, years of financial reports. You can put it all into the prompt, and the model holds it all in its memory to reason over. No more chunking documents into tiny pieces.
I also saw that they are getting very cozy with Microsoft Office, which, you have to admit, is a little ironic given Microsoft's deep, multi-billion-dollar exclusive relationship with OpenAI.
It's more than a little ironic. It's a brilliant and aggressive strategic play. Opus 4.6 now has direct integration into Excel and PowerPoint.
And we're not just talking about, hey, write me a VBA macro for this spreadsheet.
No, it's much deeper than that. The AI can actually read your company's existing PowerPoint templates. It can understand your branding, your slide layouts. You can give it a document, and it will build an entire slide deck for you natively within the application.
Wait, hang on. Natively, so you're telling me no more copy-pasting paragraphs of text from a chat window into a PowerPoint slide and then spending the next 20 minutes just fixing the font size and the bullet points?
There's the promise. It builds the deck for you. It formats the cells in Excel for you. It's all about removing the friction between having the idea and presenting the idea. It's a direct shot at the heart of enterprise productivity.
Let's talk about the benchmarks for Opus, though. I know OpenAI snatched that coding crown back within minutes, but Opus 4.6 still put up some incredibly serious numbers in other areas.
It really did. It scored nearly 70% on a benchmark called ARC-AGI-2. And this is a very, very tough test for what we call general intelligence and adaptability. It tests the model's ability to learn new patterns on the fly, not just recite things it memorized from its training data.
It's about reasoning, not just knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on another test, the GDP-Val-AA knowledge work evaluation, it actually beat OpenAI's previous version, GPT-5.2, by around 144 ELO points. And in the world of model comparisons, that is a significant gap. That's not a rounding error.
It also topped a benchmark with the most dramatic and slightly terrifying name I have ever heard. Humanity's Last Exam.
It is a dramatic name. But, it actually highlights a very real problem in the AI evaluation industry, which is saturation.
We're running out of tests.
We are literally running out of tests that humans can create that still stump these top-tier models. So Humanity's Last Exam is this academic attempt to create extremely difficult, multidisciplinary problems that require creative leaps. And the fact that Opus topped it is a very big deal. It shows its reasoning is becoming more flexible.
Okay, so let's put these two massive releases together. We have GPT-5.3-Codex and Claude Opus 4.6. What is the synthesis here? A few months ago, the trendy contrarian take in Silicon Valley was that AI was hitting a wall, that the scaling laws were breaking down.
That narrative is dead.
It's over.
Consider it buried.
Yeah.
Today proved that the wall, if it ever existed, has been completely smashed. What's more, the cycle time between these significant upgrades is shortening, not lengthening.
That's the key point. The pace is picking up.
The pace is accelerating. We aren't seeing diminishing returns. What we're seeing is specialized returns. OpenAI is pushing this incredible, recursive, self-building coding angle. Anthropic is pushing the collaborative, multi-agent workflow angle. If you were one of those people thinking things were about to slow down, you were just profoundly wrong.
Okay, so we have these incredibly powerful, rapidly improving models. They can build themselves, they can work in teams, but if you are a Fortune 500 company, if you're the CIO at General Electric or Pfizer or a big bank, you are probably still terrified of letting these things loose on your proprietary data.
Terrified is exactly the right word. You don't want a self-optimizing agent to accidentally optimize your entire payroll database into non-existence.
Or hallucinate a 20% discount code that goes viral and costs your company millions of dollars in an hour.
Right. The risk of unconstrained agency is just too high for any serious enterprise. And that is why this next announcement from OpenAI is so critical. It's called Frontier.
And the best way I can think to describe it, as you said earlier, is HR for bots.
It is the perfect metaphor. We are officially moving from the era of just making the models to the era of managing the bots. Frontier is an enterprise-grade platform specifically designed to treat AI agents like you would treat new employees.
Okay, so walk me through the onboarding process. If I hire a new human analyst, they get an employee ID, a security badge, a laptop, and a login with specific permissions. What happens when I hire an agent through Frontier?
It's a remarkably similar workflow. You don't just give an agent the keys to the entire kingdom. That would be insane. First, you create a profile for the agent. Then you set very specific, scoped access permissions.
So you can draw a box around what it's allowed to do.
A very hard box. You can say, okay, Agent Smith's job is to access the Salesforce CRM and update customer records based on incoming emails. But it is explicitly forbidden from accessing the HR system, and it certainly cannot execute bank transfers from the finance software.
Hard limits. You set guardrails.
You set hard limits and guardrails. And the beauty of it is that it connects to your existing enterprise stack, Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow, all the big ones, without requiring complex, multi-year data migrations. It sits on top as the orchestration layer.
But the HR comparison goes deeper than just permissions, right? I saw something about feedback loops.
It does. It's like performance reviews for your robots.
Seriously?
Essentially, yes. The Frontier system allows for constant evaluation and feedback. If an agent struggles with a certain type of task or gets confused by an ambiguous email, that data is captured. A human manager can review the action and give it feedback.
So the agent learns on the job.
It learns on the job, but in a very constrained and auditable way. It's not just running wild. It creates a complete audit trail. If an agent does something, anything, you know who did it, why they did it, and when they did it. That's been the missing piece for enterprise adoption.
So who's actually using this? Is this just a concept or is it live?
No, this is very much live. The list of launch partners is a who's who of heavy hitters.
Yeah.
You've got HP, Oracle, State Farm, Uber, Intuit, Thermo Fisher.
These are not startups. These are massive, regulated, complex, global organizations.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is the go-to-market strategy. OpenAI is offering a white glove service. They are literally embedding their own engineers on site at these companies to help them design, build, and manage their first fleets of agents.
That signals a major shift in their business model, doesn't it? It's not just, here's an API key and the documentation, good luck.
No, it's a consulting-led sales motion. It's, we will come in and help you fundamentally restructure your workforce. And this connects directly to that report from the AI evaluation firm METR that came out last week.
Right, I remember that.
They analyzed the previous version, GPT-5.2, and found that it could already autonomously handle complex software engineering tasks that would take a human engineer 6+ hours to complete.
So if you have software that can do a full day's work in a matter of minutes, you don't just need a tool, you need a management layer.
You need a management layer. You need HRE. Frontier is that layer.
Let's look at this from an investment perspective then. This feels like a direct existential threat to a lot of traditional SaaS software as a service providers.
It absolutely is. I think it's the biggest threat they've ever faced. If the orchestration layer, the intelligent layer that actually controls the workflow, is owned by OpenAI through Frontier, then what happens to Salesforce or Workday?
They risk becoming just dumb databases in the background.
Precisely. They become the commodity, the place where the data is stored, but not where the value is created. All the value moves up the stack to the agent manager. That is the new battleground for the next 5 years of enterprise software. Server hum.
Okay, so we're talking about these self-building models. We're talking about these enterprise armies of software agents. But none of this runs on magic. It runs on staggering amounts of electricity and an ocean of silicon. And today, we got the bill.
And it is a bill of historic proportions.
Let's start with Alphabet, with Google. They announced their capital expenditure plans for this year. Give us the top-line number.
Alphabet plans to spend between $175 billion and $185 billion on AI infrastructure this year alone.
$185 billion. I need to let that sink in. To put that number in context for everyone listening, Wall Street analysts were predicting about $119 billion.
A high number already.
A very high number. They beat the prediction by $65 billion. The overage, just the surprise part of their spending, is bigger than the entire gross domestic product of many countries.
It's more than their combined spending of the last 3 years. It's an astronomical acceleration of investment. And Sundar Pichai, the CEO, he had to defend it on the earnings call. He basically said it's necessary to drive growth in search and cloud. The subtext was, if we don't spend this, we cease to exist as a leader in this field.
It's table stakes now. And the breakdown of that spending is really interesting. It's not all just buying up every NVIDIA GPU on the planet.
Right. It's a bit more nuanced. About 40% of that is going to data centers and networking equipment. That's the physical stuff, the buildings, the advanced cooling systems, the copper and fiber optic cables. The other 60% is for the servers themselves, which, yes, includes those coveted chips. They are literally building the physical grid for the AI century.
But if you thought Google's number was big, I mean, Amazon basically came out and said, hold my beer.
They really did. Amazon announced they plan to spend $200 billion in CapEx for 2026.
200 billion from one company.
It's up from their previous estimate of around $125 billion. Andy Jassy, their CEO, is clearly all in. He's focusing that spend on AI, on their own custom chips like Trainium, on robotics for their warehouses, and even on their satellite internet project. But the market blinked hard on this one.
Yeah, Amazon's stock absolutely tanked. It was down 10% in after-hours trading. Why the negative reaction to such a bold investment?
It's that classic Wall Street tension. It's the combination of the massive, eye-watering spending commitment combined with the fact that they just missed their quarterly profit expectations. Investors love the long-term story of AI, but they hate seeing $200 billion fly out the door when your short-term profits are missing the mark.
It's the what have you done for me lately problem.
It is. It's a conflict between investing for long-term survival and delivering short-term returns.
And we can't forget the third player in this spending spree, Meta. They are also spending huge amounts, but they seem to have a bit of a comeback story brewing under the surface.
They really do. Meta is planning to spend somewhere between $115 and $135 billion. But the really interesting tidbit came from a leaked internal memo about a new model they're calling Project Avocado.
Avocado. That's the best code name they could come up with.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But the specs are what's impressive. They are claiming that this new model is 10 times more efficient to run than their previous model, which was codenamed Maverick, and 100 times more efficient than their big old model, Behemoth.
So efficiency is Meta's play.
Efficiency is their secret weapon. If they can get similar performance to Google or OpenAI, but do it for a tenth of the cost, they win on margins. That's a huge competitive advantage.
And they're also getting more aggressive on the product front, spinning out their video generator vibes into its own standalone app.
Which is a clear, direct shot at OpenAI's Sora. They want to own the creative, consumer-facing layer of AI.
So let's just add this all up. Between Alphabet, Amazon, and Meta, we are looking at nearly $500 billion in infrastructure spending in a single year from just 3 companies.
It's unreal.
So I have to ask the big question. Is this a bubble? Is this the new .com boom about to burst? Or is this just the new permanent cost of doing business at the top?
I think it's the new baseline. When you see 2 of the biggest companies in the world drop a combined $400 billion, that isn't a speculative bubble in the traditional sense. That is an industrial revolution. They are building the new railroads. They are building the new electrical grid. There is no turning back from this scale of investment. If they stop now, their models stall, their progress halts, and their competitors will eat them alive.
It's breathtaking. But amidst all this massive spending, there are some very interesting, almost subtle strategic moves happening on the chessboard. Amazon in particular seems to be making a very strange bedfellow.
This is the Alexa Plus scoop, and it's a weird one. Reports are swirling that Amazon is in deep talks to integrate ChatGPT directly into its Alexa Plus subscription service.
Okay, wait a second. Doesn't Amazon have its own family of models? And more importantly, didn't they just invest billions of dollars into Anthropic, OpenAI's biggest rival?
Yes and yes. That's what makes this so fascinating and confusing. The report suggests Amazon is potentially investing another $50 billion here with OpenAI. The implication is that Alexa, the voice assistant in your kitchen, could soon be powered by both Claude from Anthropic and ChatGPT from OpenAI.
That sounds like a very crowded kitchen. Why would they do that?
It suggests that Amazon might be realizing their own native in-house AI just isn't cutting it for that top-tier conversational layer. They want Alexa to be the ultimate indispensable interface, and maybe they've decided they don't care whose brain is running it, as long as it's the best one.
But the strategic trade-offs here are just wild to think about. Does this mean OpenAI gets preferential access to Amazon's custom Trainium chips for training?
That's the big question. Or even crazier, does this mean OpenAI's agents get native access to the Amazon e-commerce store?
If an OpenAI agent can just shop on Amazon for you without you lifting a finger, that's a complete game changer for global retail.
It's a holy grail of e-commerce. Utterly frictionless consumption. It's a fascinating and messy situation to watch.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the tech world, Apple is doing the most Apple thing possible. While everyone else is spending billions and launching everything they can, Apple is canceling a project.
It is classic Apple. They are reportedly scaling back Project Mulberry. This was supposed to be their big AI-powered health coach.
And the reason?
The reason, according to the reports, is that Eddie Q, one of their top executives, basically looked at it and said, this isn't good enough. It's not magical. It wasn't compelling enough compared to what's already out there with Oura Rings or Whoop bands.
So Apple still has a quality bar they're unwilling to compromise, even in a gold rush.
Exactly. While the rest of big tech is throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, Apple is still carefully curating the menu. Now, they might ship some of the individual features like advanced gait analysis or letting Siri answer health queries, but the dedicated holistic coach product is being shelved. It's a great reminder that even in an AI boom, product market fit still matters.
Speaking of market fit, or maybe more like personality market fit, let's finally talk about the drama.
The culture war.
It just wouldn't be a tech boom without a little bit of billionaire beef, would it? And we've got a great one. Sam Altman versus Anthropic. And it all started, of all things, with a Super Bowl ad.
This is just wild. So for anyone who missed it, Anthropic ran a Super Bowl commercial, and the entire ad is built around mocking a generic chatbot A, which is very, very clearly meant to be ChatGPT.
Right. It shows this chatbot awkwardly inserting product promotions into what's supposed to be a personal, empathetic conversation.
He's like, I'm so sorry to hear you're sad about your recent breakup, but have you tried a refreshing ice-cold Coca-Cola? It's cringy.
Ineffective. It plays directly on that consumer fear of our new AI friends becoming soulless walking advertisements.
It does. And Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, did not find it funny.
He did not.
Well, to be precise, he tweeted that he thought the ad itself was funny, but then he immediately went on the offensive. He called Anthropic dishonest and authoritarian. A very strong choice of words.
And he claimed OpenAI would never insert ads directly into conversations like that.
Right. Though, to be fair, they have publicly stated they plan to serve ads based on your chat content history, which is a very, very fine line to walk.
Then he threw the really weird jab. The rich people jab.
He did. He claimed that Anthropic's product only served the wealthy, which is just a strange critique, given that both companies have almost identical business models. They both have free tiers, and they both have $20 a month subscription tiers. It's not a real differentiator.
So what does this public spat actually tell us, aside from the fact that maybe CEOs need to put their phones away sometimes?
I think it tells us that the stakes are now incredibly personally high. These aren't just obscure research labs anymore. They are becoming major consumer brands, and they are fighting tooth and nail for market share and public perception.
It's a battle for hearts and minds.
It is. Anthropic is clearly trying to position itself as the ethical, clean, ad-free alternative. They want to be the Apple to OpenAI's Google. And OpenAI is fighting to maintain its position as the dominant market leader and, the perceived moral high ground. When the CEOs start getting this scrappy on social media, the internal pressure to win is just immense.
It's getting personal. Okay, we have just a few minutes left, but I want to hit a few rapid-fire stories because, again, today was just insane.
Let's do it.
Perplexity, they launched something called the Model Council.
This is a really cool feature. You ask a query, and instead of just one model giving you an answer, Perplexity runs that same query through multiple different models in the background. OpenAI's, Claude's, Llama from Meta, and then it synthesizes the best parts of all the answers into one. It's like the wisdom of the crowd, but for AI.
A meta model. I like that. Okay, Roblox. They announced Cube AI.
This one is for the gamers and creators. It's 4D generation. You could just type a text prompt like a bouncy red ball that teleports when you touch it, and it generates a fully functional interactive 3D object right there in the game. Not just a static model, but something that actually has behaviors. It's lowering the barrier for game creation down to basically zero. Just your imagination. And finally, we have to touch on the human element in all of this. I saw a story about rentahuman.ai and a much darker story about the labor market. Yeah, this is the grounding reality check for the day. Rentahuman.ai is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a platform where humans can offer their services as on-demand labor for AI agents when they get stuck.
A human in the loop, but as a gig service.
Exactly. But the darker side of that coin is the report that came out of India today. It detailed how female workers are being paid very little to watch hours and hours of abusive, traumatic, violent content in order to train the AI safety filters for these models. The headline of the article was just haunting. It was, in the end, you feel blank.
It is such a stark reminder. We get so excited about the servers humming and the $400 billion and the magic code that builds itself. But somewhere, deep in the supply chain, there is a human being paying a very real psychological toll to make all of these systems safe and functional.
Absolutely. The magic has a supply chain, and that supply chain at its foundation is still made of people. We can never, ever forget that.
So let's try and wrap this all up. What an unbelievable day.
It really was.
We have models that are now actively building themselves with GPT-5.3-Codex. We have agents that are forming parallel teams to tackle complex problems with Claude Opus. We have enterprises that are literally building HR departments for their software with OpenAI Frontier.
And we have the tech giants spending the equivalent of the GDP of small nations just to build the grid to power it all.
And on top of it all, we have the CEOs fighting over Super Bowl commercials because the brand matters so much now.
It is the absolute definition of an inflection point for an entire industry.
I want to leave our listeners with this one final provocative thought. We talked about GPT 5.3 helping to build GPT-6. We talked about Anthropic's agents being able to work in these parallel teams. So if the AI is now designing the architecture and the AI is executing the work in parallel, at what point does the human role in this process shift from being the builder to just being the funding source? Are we still the architects here? Or are we just becoming the venture capitalists for a new species of digital intelligence?
That is the $400 billion question, isn't it?
Keep your servers humming, everyone. We will see you next time.
That wraps up today's briefing. The signal for today is orchestration. We have moved past the era of chatting with bots. With OpenAI's Frontier and Anthropic's agent teams, the new job of the human is to orchestrate. You are no longer the creator. You are the manager of a digital workforce that is rapidly learning to build itself. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Noumen, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until Monday, keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.